In this lecture, we will learn about macro. So macro is a set of programming instructions stored as a procedure, which means it is a snippet of code which contains a series of actions. Now, whenever you run this code, all the actions will be performed on the sheet. For example, I have a macro. So if I go to extension, go to macros, then I have a macro named example, and this is the shortcut for this macro, Ctrl+Alt+Shift+1. Now what this macro does is it centralizes, bolds and add a gray color to the background. So if I want to apply this macro, I just have to use Ctrl, Alt, Shift and 1. Now as you can see, the macro has been applied to this cell. Similarly, I can apply it to another cell as well. Ctrl, Alt, Shift, 1. It has been applied. If you want to perform these actions on a data, you have to do them one by one. You have to first centralize them, then you have to bold them, then you have to add a gray color. But using a macro, I can just use a shortcut and add it. So now if I edit this entire table, then I can add the format of this entire table by just one click on this table. Want to see how? Let's see this table first. This is a students table which has 5 students record in maths, science and English, and then they have maths and science grades. If I want to format this table, let's say I want to bold this entire row, then I want to add a gray color to this entire row, then I want to italicize this row, and then I want to add a border to this table. So I can record a macro while just doing this task, and then whenever I want to do the same formatting, I'll just use a shortcut key and the same format will be applied to the entire table. Now let's undo these two changes. Let's use Ctrl Z. Undo these two changes. Now let's create a macro. To create a macro, go to extensions, macro and record a macro. Now you will see these two options. One is use absolute referencing and other is use relative referencing. If you are using the absolute referencing, whenever you apply the macro, it will be applied from the cell where you will start editing the macro. For example, if I start editing this table which has first column as C6, then if I use absolute referencing and I apply the format or apply the macro to this table, it will not be applied to this table. It will be applied from C6 only. And as you can see, the above table has 6 columns, but the below table has only 5 columns. So it will also throw me error. This is why I will use relative referencing. So let's first cancel it. Go to extensions, macro, record macro. Now I will record my macro. So first I will select this entire row using Ctrl, Shift and right arrow key. Now you have to use the arrow keys, otherwise it will not work. So let's first gray color them, bold them and also centralize them. So let's use central alignment. Now let's move to the below cell. Let's use Ctrl, Shift and down arrow key. Let's use italicize them. Now let's go to above cell, Ctrl A, select the entire column or select the entire table and then add a border. Now let's go to save. Now I have saved the macro. Let's use a name. So let's use exercise here and let's give it a number, let's say 5. Now I will save it. So the macro exercise has been saved, but you have to edit it first. So go to edit script. You can also edit it from here. If this option does not pop up, go to extension, macro, manage macro, and then from exercise, you can edit the script from here. Now this is the script. I have 2 macros saved. First one was example. The second one is exercise. What I have to do is I have to change this offset from -12, -6 to 0, 0. Let's first save it, save project. Now moving to the macro, let's cancel it. Now if you want to apply the macro here in this table, you can either go to extensions, macros and apply exercise. Now as you can see, the macro has been applied to this table. You know that it has 2 extra rows and 1 less column, but the format was only applied to this table. So this is the beauty of macro. You can also apply it with shortcut Ctrl+Alt+Shift and 5. So let's use Ctrl Z to undo it and use Ctrl, Alt, Shift and 5. Now as you can see, the macro has been applied. Now moving forward, if you want to give this sheet to someone else and they don't want to apply a shortcut key or they don't want to go to extension, they want a button. So the person was your customer and he wants a button in his sheet, and then he can go to any cell and just click on the button and the macro will be applied. To do this, let's first add a button. To add a button, go to insert, drawings. So go to this drawing, click here and create a drawing. So I will use a shape. Go to the shape, shapes and add a shape. You can use any shape. I will use this rounded rectangle. Let's add a rounded rectangle. Now I will use a text here. So let's add a text. let's say I will use apply here. Let's centralize it, central align. Now it looks good. So save and close. Now the button is here. Click on this button, go to these three dots, and you can assign a script to this button. So go to assign script. Now we have a script named exercise. So let's first copy this name. This name has to be exactly same. So I will copy it and paste it here. Click OK. Now go to the first cell and then just click on this button. Now as you can see, by just clicking on this button, the macro has been applied to this table. This is the beauty of macro. It makes the works very much easy that it looks like fun. Now the one thing to remember is that this macro will only be applied to this sheet only. You can also add another sheet in this workbook and apply a macro here. So suppose I have this table. Let's first remove the format of this table. I will remove the bold. I will remove the color and the borders as well. So if I want to apply a macro here, go to the student, extension, macro and exercise. So as you can see, the macro has been applied to the next sheet as well. But if I add a new Google Sheet from my Google Drive, so this is a completely new sheet. Now here I have no macro. There is no macro option. It is saying me to record a macro. So what if I want this macro which I have created in this table and want to apply this formatting in the new sheet as well? To do that, first I have to copy this script of the macro and then paste it in the sheet. Then I have to import the macro and then only I can apply it. So if the macro is small, if the editing is only 3-4, then you can create a macro again. But if it is a very huge editing, if let's say you have formatted, centralized them as well, you have add conditional formatting as well, then you can copy it so that it will become easy then creating a macro again. So to copy the script, go to extension, macro, manage macro and edit script. Here are the scripts. So you can copy the script, use Ctrl+C to copy the entire script. Go to your new sheet, go to the extension and go to app script. Here you will see this code, just delete it and paste your script. Now it says code.js, save it. You can name it as well. So let's name it exercise 2, rename it. Now the exercise macro, I have named the file exercise 2, but the macro will be named exercise only. Now I have saved it using the save button. I can import this macro now. Go to extension, macro and import macro. Here you have the exercises. You can add it. Now the macro has been added. Go to extension again, macros, and you have the exercise macro here. Now if I copy this data and paste it here, let's remove the formats here. Now it is completely new data. Let's remove the centralization as well. Now if I want to apply this macro here, go to this extension, macro and exercise. As you can see, the script has been running. Let's wait. Now as I have added a macro in a new sheet, it says authorization required. I have to authorize it for Google. So click continue, authorize your Google Sheet. Now it has some safety concerns, but I will still allow it and allow. Now let's go to extension, macro, exercise, and the macro has been applied. Very easy. So this is how you can use macro, record it, edit it, add a button or do anything you want. Now let's move to the next video. Thank you.